Robert Service was born in 1874 in Preston, England, died in France in 1958, and he lived for a number of years in the Yukon in northwest Canada, where he wrote a poem that he's probably most famous for, The Cremation of Sam McGee, and his poems usually were about miners and loggers and the rugged life in the great Northwest. This poem, The Three Bears, was written while in Canada in the early 1920s and is among one of his least known poems. Ma tried to wash her garden slacks, but couldn't get 'em clean, so she thought she'd soak 'em in a bucket of benzene. It worked all right. She wrung 'em out, then wondered what she'd do with that bucket load of high explosive residue. Now, she knew it was dangerous to scatter it around, for Grandpa liked to throw his lighted matches on the ground. Well, somehow she didn't dare to pour it down the kitchen sink, and what the heck to do with it? Poor Ma just couldn't think. Then nature seemed to give a clue as, down the garden lot, she spied the edifice that graced a solitary spot. Their palace of necessity, the family, joy and pride, enshrined in morning glory vine, with graded seats inside. Just like the cabin, Goldilocks found occupied by three, but in this case, B-E-A-R was spelt B-A-R-E. A tiny seat for Baby Bear, a medium for Ma, a full-size section sacred to the bear of Grandpapa. Well, Ma was mighty glad to get that worry off her mind, and hefting up the bucket so combustedly inclined, she hurried down the garden to that refuge so discreet, and dumped the liquid menace safely through the center seat. Now the next morning old Grandpa arose. He made a hearty meal. He sniffed the air and said, "My gosh, how full of beans I feel. Darned if I ain't as fresh as paint. My joy will be complete with just a quiet session on the usual morning seat. Well, to smoke me pipe and meditate and maybe write a poem, for that's the time when bits o' rhyme gets jiggin' in me dome." Well, he sat down on that special seat, slick shiny by his age, and looking like Walt Whitman, just a silver-whiskered sage. Well, he filled his corncob to the brim and tapped it snugly down and chuckled, "Of a perfect day, I reckon this the crown." He lit the weed, it soothed his need, it was so soft and sweet, and then he dropped the lighted match clean through the middle seat. Now his little grandchild Rosaline cried from the kitchen door, "Oh, Ma, come quick, there's something wrong. I heard a dreadful roar. Oh, Ma, I see a sheet of flame. It's rising high and higher. Oh, Mommy dear, I sadly fear our comfort house has caught fire." Poor Ma was filled with horror at them words of Rosaline. She thought of Grandpa's matches and that bucket of benzene. So down the garden, geared on high, she ran with all her power, for regular was Grandpa, and she knew it was his hour. Then graspin', gaspin' Rosaline, she peered into the fire, a roar and soar and furnace now, perchance old Grandpa's pyre. But as them twain expressed their pain, they heard a hearty cheer. Behold the old rapscallion squattin' in the duck pond near. His silver whiskers singed away, a gosh almighty wreck, with half a yard of toilet seat entwined about his neck. He cried, "Say, folks, oh, did you hear that big blowout that I made? It scared me half to death. I hope yuns was not too much afraid. But now I best be crawlin' out of this dog-gasted wet, for what I aim to figure out is, What the heck I at?